Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Sandy Bob Blog Talk Radio Show. We are broadcasting live from Wisconsin. It is Tuesday, January 29th, 2019, at 12 noon Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a call-in number for our listening audience. It is 1-563-999-3509. We will be taking calls all during the show today, and we are very happy to welcome back Dr. John Schneindl from Marshfield Acupuncture. He has 20 years' experience in natural and Chinese medicine, and he is here right now to take any questions that you may have. So I would like to open the lines now, and please have your questions ready. And if you are not on speaking at the time, please mute your phone. Okay, thank you. Is anybody on ready to talk?
Val is on there.
Val?
Yes, hi, Dr.
Val
John.
there?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
Can you hear me? Hi, Dr. John.
I can, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, thanks for being on. Yeah, I'm interested in acupuncture. I've been taking treatments here in California for about 3 months. I maybe had 12, 15 treatments, and I don't really feel anything. And I read that it's accumulative. So is that what's happening with me? Is that it's gaining some sort of is there some healing going on, or what's going on that I don't feel it?
Okay, well, before I qualify that, let me ask a question without violating privacy too far, or whatever you might be comfortable with. Is your condition a chronic long-term condition, or is it more of an acute recent condition?
It's inflammation. It's more chronic.
Okay. Well, you probably should have noticed something by now. Now, I'm not treating you. I don't see you every week, so this is kind of armchair diagnosing and treating, which is a little dangerous. But most often people will notice stuff prior, but it is cumulative. So it's a bit of both. Now, there are multiple styles of acupuncture, just like there are multiple acupuncturists or like chiropractors. All of us that practice this more natural health care. And I have found, even with myself, over the years, I've used probably 10 or 15 different chiropractors for myself, because sometimes I need a certain thing that I know, hey, Dr. Kyle's really good at getting my da-da-da to go, but, oh, Dr. Lori's really, really good if my SI joint is stuck, or something to that effect. You know what I mean?
I've heard that, too, from friends, that they've tried different acupuncturists, and they do have a different focus, each one of them, and skill set.
Right, and sometimes,
imagine.
Yeah, and sometimes, oops, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say that sometimes it's just the right fit at the right time. Now, I don't get offended. Unfortunately, where I live now, there aren't a lot of us. But I've lived in bigger markets like the Milwaukee or Chicago metro areas where I had a lot of colleagues who also did acupuncture or chiropractic or some blend thereof. And if somebody wasn't getting the results with me that I'm used to seeing, I had no trouble referring them to somebody else, because ultimately my goal is for people to get better. And I'm not the answer for everybody. And I'm not always the answer for that person at that given time for that given condition, because those things are all in flux, so to speak, because we're never the same person from day to day either. We are, but we're not.
Is there something to where I get maybe 10 needles, and I've heard my friends get maybe, they've gotten up to 18 or more. Is there something to that, the amount of needles used?
Well, and again, some of that will vary based on the style of acupuncture. For instance, I do a style called Dung style, which is out there in California too. Dr. Susan Johnson teaches a lot of seminars in it, and she's in the San Jose kind of area, and she was one of the pioneers in that style in the United States here. And that style uses fewer needles. So I use between 6 and 12 needles on a person. I almost never use more than that. However, traditional Chinese acupuncture could use anywhere from 8 to 20 needles. Some styles are out there that I'm probably not familiar with that may use needles in the low 20s. I think you get above that, it gets a little ridiculous, but I might be wrong. I mean, there could be a style out there that needles very superficially and uses a lot of needles, superficially to accomplish a task that, let's say, fewer needles done more to a different depth might accomplish it. So there's a lot of variance. I can't say that it's right or wrong based on needle count, except for when I was teaching students, because when you teach students, if they get little too crazy with the number of needles with those students, it's usually the case that they haven't narrowed down their diagnosis very well, and they're just using needles based on symptoms and what points cover what symptoms, and that isn't good acupuncture. It's acupuncture, but it's not really good acupuncture, and that's why they're students. They're learning.
And you mentioned the width of the needle. Does that make a difference, or how does that work?
Okay, that can be very different from style to style, too. For instance, Japanese styles, a great many of them use very, very fine needles and very shallow insertions, and they sometimes have rules like never put more than 2 needles in a meridian, and things like that. Now, I use very fine needles as well with the Dung style. Chinese style tends to use a little thicker needles, the traditional Chinese acupuncture. Sports acupuncture uses thicker needles because we want more stimulation. So for our high-level athletes and people that come to see me from far away that have an old sports injury and maybe are professional or semi-professional or even just die-hard weekend warriors, those thicker needles get them better a little quicker. So it's hard to answer a lot of these questions yes or no. They're both yes and no. Sorry.
No, that's good. That gives me a kind of a more overview of what's going on with the treatments and such. So thank you, Dr. John.
You're welcome. I hope I was able to help you. So there's a lot out there, and I urge you to talk with your practitioner about what you may be feeling, and maybe with his style you are expecting a little too much too soon. I don't know because I'm not him. But I always encourage patients to keep a very open rapport with me because I can't help you if we don't communicate. It's kind of like trying to have a good relationship on any level. If you don't communicate well, things suffer. And I don't want the patient's health to suffer because they're maybe afraid of offending me or something like that. I always tell them on their first treatment, hey, you won't offend me. And no, I don't know everything. But if I don't have the answer, I have a lot of really smart colleagues too, and I can ask them if nothing else. So we can find the answer for you.
And you mentioned Dr. Susan. I'm down there in San Jose, California quite often, and she is still practicing. What's her name again?
Dr. Susan Johnson. I believe it's Johnson. And yes, as far as I know, now how often she's in her own clinic because she's busy teaching seminars and stuff too. But as far as I know, she still practices daily as well. Okay, and her style was what again? Dung style. It's in Roman letters. It's spelled T as in Tom, U-N-G, but that T in Chinese is pronounced like a soft D. Okay. Yeah, I may look her up. Thank you. She's wonderful. She's one of the people that I think is amazing. So, we all have different levels of, she's one of my acupuncture heroes. Mhm. Thank you. You're very welcome.
Who is on the line who has a question for Dr. Schneindl?
Hello, this is Claudia in Texas.
Well, hello.
It's so nice to meet you, and you have given such a wealth of information. The first time I heard you on Sandy and Bob's show was just, what a wonderful job you're doing, and thank you for all that you do. My question.
Well, thank you for your kind words. That's very nice.
It's nice to know there's somebody out there who understands and can share their knowledge without feeling threatened, Anyway, first question is, how would I find someone of your caliber in Texas? I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay. Well, someone of my caliber, you might find someone better than my caliber. It's entirely possible. But I will tell you the number one thing to do is have a licensed, certified practitioner. Now, I don't think there are very many anymore that don't fall into that category, other than maybe some small, lesser-known people in Chinatowns or things like that. But there's a website, and it is the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. That is our federal certification board, and they have a practitioner lookup page.
Oh,
so you can be you can be assured that anyone on their page is a safe, qualified practitioner, and their website is www.N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, A as in Alpha, A as in Alpha. Excuse me, wait a minute. 1A. I'm sorry, not 2.
Okay.
N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, A as in Alpha, O as in Oscar, M as in Mary.org. I'm going to double check that real quick, but I believe that they just redid their website. They're our federal governing body, but they also do a lot to promote. NCCAOM.org. And on their site, there's a practitioner lookup option under resources. So, resources for diplomats, becoming certified. I'm going to see, they changed their website, so I'm trying to find their practitioner lookup, but they usually have one for lay people, so you can find practitioners in your area.
Yeah, problem. I'll find it.
Yep.
My second question is this. You were speaking just a few minutes ago about chronic conditions.
Yes.
And mine is, I thought I may have, from what I looked up on the internet, interstitial cystitis.
Oh, yes. That's a very chronic, not very fun condition. I will tell you that acupuncture and Chinese herbs work very well for IC. I've got 2 patients right now that I'm treating for that in some combination. Both of them also have other issues, unfortunately, which complicates it. But it does respond very well to acupuncture. It's one of those things not treated very well by conventional medicine, but does respond amazingly with acupuncture.
Oh, wonderful. That gives me great encouragement. The place where our persons I'm staying with are very traditional, and, they like Western medicine. And I'm one to try anything that isn't Western medicine. And so, but trying to find someone who practices my little town is I have to drive to Houston or San Antonio, one of the larger cities.
I'm not sure how close you might have someone to you, but I will tell you, you may not be aware of it. There are 30-some accredited colleges for acupuncture in the United States, and one of them is in Texas.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Thank you. That's marvelous.
So you probably have some amazing practitioners pretty close to you.
Oh, that's such encouraging news. I have one other little question. The thought that I had the IC problem when I got to the hospital, the doctors determined that I had the MRSA. I got that in the hospital, but it was a condition of, and has become chronic because I was diagnosed a year ago, and it's still. I've taken all of their prescribed medicines, and nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. So I figured it's chronic. So now I have wherewithal to get a chance to try something different. And I knew that the Chinese medicine, especially the acupuncture, would help in some way. When you have blood conditions that turn septic and so on and so forth, there's not much that they have in the repertoire except antibiotics, which are the standard ones, and not very helpful. So when you get chronic conditions, you were mentioning about it may take a while. Is that the usual protocol? It takes a while?
for a condition like yours, which is what we would call an internal medicine condition versus, let's say, musculoskeletal pain and inflammation, those tend to respond a little more quickly. The external stuff does tend to respond a little more quickly than the internal stuff because there's a lot more complicating factors. I'll tell you one of the other things you could look for, and I don't know if there's anyone down there doing it, but intravenous ozone therapy, okay? That is not Chinese medicine, but it's a natural medicine. Lots of naturopaths do it. Chiropractors in some states do it where they're allowed. That is used very well to treat infections in the blood, including things like Lyme disease. They're using it in Africa for antibiotic resistance, Ebola and stuff. So what happens is they take some of your blood out, pump it full of ozone that quickly breaks down into high-potency oxygen, so you hyperoxygenate the bloodstream, and that helps your body kill all the garbage. That's a little oversimplification, but you get the point.
Oh, yes. Sandy and Bob very generously sent me a bottle of oxygen drops, and another friend sent me an ozone generator, and I used them in combination to save a toe that was supposed to be amputated because of an infection. And from the MRSA and just being in the hospital was a challenge. But now I was hoping adding the acupuncture would also take it to another level of wellness, and that's what I was looking for.
Yes, if you combine the two like that, I think you'll find that your health conditions greatly improve.
Yes, the ozone drops and the ozone generator saved my toe, and I'm so grateful. And but now it's time to work on the problem with the blood. It's really gotten to the point of almost hopelessness, and now talking to you is really giving me encouragement. So we'll find somebody here. We'll try the website and see if we can track down a practitioner nearby. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Your state probably also has, now in Wisconsin it's called the Department of Professional Regulation. Some states it's Department of Regulation and Licensing, something like that. Medical licenses are actually given by the state, not by the federal government. So your state of Texas will have a licensing board that's in charge of, granting licenses to acupuncturists. That's another place you can look for resources.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Claudia and Dr. Schneindl. Who is Kelsey on? Does she have a question?
Hi, Sandy. This is Kelsey. I do have a couple questions. The first question I would ask for the doctor would be, what is the type of training and education? How long does that take that you went through, or is there a general idea to become an acupuncturist in practice?
Okay, so we'll start with the minimum because it varies. Again, medical licenses are granted from state to state. Each state has different requirements. One of the highest requirements for hours for states is California. Other states have hour requirements up near the 3,000 hour range minimum. So it's a master's in acupuncture or a master's in Oriental medicine. Again, it depends on where you go to school. But it is a graduate level degree with, minimum, I think, of 2,700 hours, and goes up to around 4,000 plus hours, which is on par with a medical doctor or a chiropractor. And then there are some programs, if you combine that with overseas training and such, you're looking at 5,000-6,000 hours of training before someone is, working out in the public. But that minimum, when I was still teaching, which was a while ago, that minimum, I think, was around 2,800 hours, and it's gone up since then because the profession's grown, and we've grown as a country as well. So it's in the 3,000 to 4,000 hour range now, and you can be sure that anyone who has that kind of training is at the minimum a very safe practitioner. Now, the best practitioners, I've been doing this a while, and I'll tell you that I learned more from my patients and experience and teaching students than I probably learned in school. Not to discount where I went to school and my training. That was great, but it gave me a good foundation to learn more. But having an open mind and listening to my patients and talking with them, listening to students while I'm trying to teach them to learn how to explain it multiple ways so that multiple students can understand it, you'll just learn an incredible amount teaching. It's amazing.
That's cool. My other question is, I see children, many times they can see the other dimensions or even people's auras. I know a lot of kids, they'll actually call people colors. They'll say, oh, the purple girl or the blue boy. And I'm just curious if maybe if not in this country, because it sounds like there's a lot of education and training for sure, which makes sense. If maybe in other cultures like China, do the children learn the acupuncture? Because sometimes I know there's some kids, they can even see tumors in adults walking around and they'll point it out. So do you know anything about other cultures teaching children or the children doing acupuncture or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of, and I could be wrong. But usually what will happen is somebody with that kind of ability or that innate intuition, they get drawn into a healing field anyways, and they do end up getting educated later in life. But I don't know, because of legal standards in almost any developed country for the practice of any kind of health care, I don't believe that there are at least formal cases where that is happening in that way.
Okay. And just personally, have you treated children? And if you have, what have you treated them for? And has that been successful? Is there a combination of chiropractic with it and the Chinese herbs? Or could you talk about the children being treated with acupuncture?
Sure. Children respond amazing to acupuncture. In fact, usually adults retain needles for 20 to 25 minutes. For children, let's say under 12 years old who don't have a serious health condition, sometimes they don't retain the needles at all. You just put them in and take them out. I've treated a lot of middle school, grade school, and high school athlete children. Now that's a little different because it's sports acupuncture, so they might retain them for a bit. Some of it depends on, just like with adults, depends on the child's energy, depends on the strength of the pathogens or problems they have. But children have lived a shorter life, so in general, if they're born healthy and just develop some things, they're ahead of us in response because their body hasn't been poisoned by 30, 40 years of living, poor dietary choices, things like the rest of us have sometimes made in our past or present or, whatever that may be. They don't have to counteract that. They've got a more pure, strong, growing life force, and that actually helps them respond much more quickly to everything, chiropractic, acupuncture, herbs. A colleague of mine, Dr. Jake Fratkin, who works out in Colorado, he was one of the first. He's that 60s era kind of brainchild of Chinese medicine that started in America, and he practices out in Colorado, and he does almost extensively family medicine. There are herbal formulas specifically designed for children, for instance, children's ear infections or children's coughs, things like that. So they respond very well.